All right, you radio men, listen up. What you see there in the frame here is an NC57. This is the same circuit as the NC125 without the selector jet. Now, this was my favorite tube radio. You can do AMDX on it. You really should have a 4-foot box loop antenna on it. Uh, does AMDX, does shortwave pretty good. Doesn't do FM band, but it's compact. It has the speaker built in. It was the radio of a period of my life that I really enjoyed DXing AM, and I built this little 4-foot box antenna. And I got the radio from a guy at Rets. He was into racing his car. He needed the money. Sold it to me for $40. My father thought that was too much money, and it wasn't. I sold it a few years later for double the money after using it a lot. But that was my favorite. Now, I'm going to tell you in a few minutes what my favorite tube radio is now. You probably guessed it. Uh, for AMDXing, I've showed you this before. This is the Sangean. If I can get an eyepiece here, I can tell you the number. This is good for laying in bed and DXing AM, and it does have a digital readout. Even though it's small, it's a hot radio. Now, on one of the groups or on a website, he did the review of different radios, and he's the one that mentioned this. And let's see the serial number. It's a Sangean. It's DT-210, and you can get these probably new old stock on eBay. And look around. The other one, if you want to go even cheaper, you get this as low as $9. This comes in a prison type case where it's clear, and people in prison use these, and it works really good in a building. It gets AM and FM really well. It's got a trick circuit in it. Read up on it. Oh, I got to give you the number. It's a Sony SRF-59. This is very famous radio, and it's incredibly good for its size. Now, last night I did a shootout. I brought over the Collins 51J, put it on the bench, hooked the antenna up. It's pathetic on AM, and I knew that. It's triple conversion on the AM broadcast band, and I have an early model of it. And I noticed when I took the antenna off, I still have really bad background hiss. That's all the mixers in it. Now, they might have fixed it by Rev 4. I don't know, but it's a dud. It cost me a lot of money. It's sitting in the other room on the floor. And then I brought over I did that one. I did this one. And, of course, I brought over the Hallicrafters SX42. And that's the king of all the radios. As far as tubes, all right? Now, the king of all radios is, for me, it's the DX390. Now, it's sitting right there on my bench, and my phone is charging on it. But that DX390, it does really well DXing AM broadcasts. It does FM really good. It does shortwave. It does sideband, and you can pre-select all the buttons on it. It's very close to being as good as the Sony 2010. And what made me so happy about it, I bought one. The front end's not blown out. I think it was $30, plus shipping, whatever. It came original box, original manual. It was new old stocks, or it was a radio nobody used. And I've continued to use that for all my testing. There's an input jack on the side where I can go in with an IF signal, turn it to 455. I can use it to troubleshoot a 455 radio. I can check other mixers. I used it extensively when I was doing the Collins 51J. This is very hard for me to remember all these numbers. But I just wanted to tell you the Hallicrafters SX42. After all the nonsense I went through, I don't like how cheesy it's made inside, but it is, when you look at the outside of that radio and you tune that dial, right? These here have a weight on them too, and they have a weird anti-backlash gear. But that uh, Hallicrafters has a much smoother, silky, not so milky, creamy smooth tuning on it, and the dial is much bigger than this one. Uh, yeah, it is the better radio. Now I think it cost me $250 and then shipping. I know I'm pretty sure that Collins cost me $450. What a piece! That's now the stinky heaping pile of shit, and how bad a shape it was in. But nothing matches the Hellcrafters, how bad a shape that was in, and all the things I had to do with it, and the person that turned every single uh, trimmer cap and trimmer resistor, and they sprayed everything with deox. Luckily, they didn't spray the main tuning um, wafer switch, the big long one. They didn't touch that. Otherwise, that radio would be garbage. It would be junk because all the other um, tuning, not tuning, wafer switches on that radio are going back to being black again. You know, they really did a job on that. And if you go look at the different videos, there are a couple where the guy mentions that it was sprayed, and one guy has a short. It's interesting stuff. But I now know which radios I own work the best under which conditions. Now, what has happened? I told you I got internet, unlimited internet now, and that's really going to cause me to have a problem. It's very addictive. It's like having a cell phone and scrolling all the time. You know, I go out for a long walk. I have that little flip phone in my pocket, and usually I don't get any calls at all. It's United Healthcare. Oh boy, do they like to bother you. They're into calling me, but there's no one on the line. I check the phone number every time. It's United Healthcare. I've told them I don't want to talk to them, but the computer still dials me. I, if I have a chance, I'm going to switch off them. They're just very bad PR. It's like Norton antivirus. I've done on my computer. It's constantly putting ads in my face. It's constantly emailing me. There's stuff that these guys go over the line, and I know most people are so busy they don't get rid of them. And that's what you have to do in life. If somebody's doing something, you don't tell them because they don't care. You get rid of them. We have a garbage pickup in the area. The company bought out another company and lost all the customers because they don't know what the hell they're doing. Won't go into that. But I just want to tell you, I did a shootout last night of all the different radios that I own. And I own a lot. And I want to say to BC348, what's wrong with that radio? First of all, it's aluminum. It's been in an aircraft. You have to build a power supply. You have to recap it. You get it all working. What's wrong with that is it doesn't have the low band AM broadcast on it. For me, as far as it doesn't go up as high as CB radio. There's certain things that radio does really well. It's got pretty good sound, but you got the external speaker. I have 3 of them, and one of them is museum quality, and I have a bunch of the command radios. But they were fun to work on because I had never heard of one of them things. And then when I got my first one, I'm looking at them like, you know what? I remember these things at the flea market. And as I'm walking back to my car, the one guy's joking the other guy about he has to load them up. He had a whole bunch of them, and he's just throwing them into the car. And there was a guy that used to do that with hard drives. And then people would come up to me. I bought a hard drive from that guy, and it didn't work. I said, come here in the next time earlier and watch how he handles them. He handles them like they're dead animals on the side of a roadkill. But anyway, there's so many radios out there, and they are enjoyable to work on. I bitch and moan, how many I got piled up in a room, and I have to now go around and pick up all the things that I undid. I have drawers hanging open with parts. I have bins that are open. I used every ounce of my being to get that Hellcrafters back together after I fixed the gear. All right, so now we know it is a really good radio. All right, I'll admit that. But working on it's not made to be repaired. That's what's really wrong with it. It's laid out ergonomically poor. It's designed by a dandy. I'll let you look through that figure that out, what I mean by a dandy. But it's more of an artist that designed it rather than a radio guy. But you have so many different uh, ideas about radios, and there are people that buy these things just to look at them, and there are guys that think they're going to fix them. And I've shown you what I can show you, other than doing a step-by-step learning course and telling you this, how I learn. And you got to bring something to the table. I found a video of a guy that basically says that. He says the problem with people is they want a really good job, but they don't have all the basics to get to that job. And he explains they're just being stupid. He's really nasty. I forget the guy's name, but in other words, he just tells you straight out, it's not going to happen. You can't will it to happen. But I want to tell you, we're in our second heat wave here in Lancaster, PA, and it's brutal. I'm retired. I have every day off, but when you can't go outside your house because it's too hot. Now, I go outside, I'll see a friend out there, we'll be talking. I can last 20 minutes before the cool air gets sucked out of my body and I start to overheat. And that's standing in the shade. And that's one of the things with retirement they don't tell you, is the weather is going to be very important. Say you arrange to go play golf with your friends and then it rains. I watch other people and I talk to them. There's going to be a car show Saturday, and it gets ruined by rain. And we had 13 Saturdays in a row that it rained here, and now we went into this really hot, terrible weather for a second time. And I'm sitting here thinking about this. Now I have the unlimited internet. That causes me to be on the internet longer, and I can become more addicted to the internet. I'm jumping from article to article, and there's so much junk up there. If a person gets a hangnail, they do a video on a hangnail. And I try to do a video where I tell you what's better than this, or show you, or let's open up the IF can and let me show you how you have to rebuild it. I looked at the other guys' videos. Most of them, they don't even open the lid up on the radio and show you inside. That's how pathetic they are. And I had to go looking through different videos. I had to go through those videos in order to get some help on that Hallicrafters SX 42. Yeah, I have 3 different schematics for that, 3 different packets for that. And when you work on it, you got to keep going through it. And there's certain things they don't show. And you got to find a capacitor where it is. You got to trim it because the guy has tightened it all the way in, and then sprayed it with deox. And then you have to locate that trimmer cap. And on one of the FM band, it's on the inside the cover. You lift up the cover down inside. It looks like gray plastic. One of them is the FM. So there's so many tricks, and once you learn all the tricks, yeah, the radio isn't that bad. See, when you buy a second one, it's not as bad as the first one. But that was a tough radio for me. Now, the other thing I've been looking at is the Collins 390. And I go looking first. I go reading. I'm reading the negative guy because he knows what he's talking about. He says it's just a bunch of problems in a box. And when you look at it, it's all these levers and cams, and it's just like the Collins 51 Dre I got, and it's terrible. And if I ever bought a 390 and it was bad on the AM broadcast band, I would really be livid, because those things go for $450 in really bad shape up to like $4,000. And I'm not that Hallicrafters was my last one. It's an addiction. I understand at this point what I did, why I did it. I'm watching the news now, and Biden's walking around. Basically, he has Parkinson's. I think in one of the articles, if you can believe it, there's a guy that's a Parkinson expert that's been coming to the White House. That what he's got does look like Parkinson's disease to me. The way his motor coordination and the way he's talking, he's getting lost. So he said, I'm an independent voter. Trump's crazier a different way. He's got some type of old person's problem. I have the problem. When you hear me talk, I think I say the word, but I don't say the word. And you'll notice I'll be talking in a sentence, And the thought just disappears. And I look at the video and I say, oh my God, I did that. In my head, when I was doing the video, I actually thought I said those words. And what I try to do on my videos is try to, in the beginning, get what I want to say. And then I always do one of these rants about, the hate and being retired and you think you're going to do all these things. It's always the same thing. And I saw that guy explaining why people fail. He says they think they're going to do stuff and they have no skills. And he basically said, you got to bring it to that's what I say. You got to bring something to the table, a start. He goes, you can't learn, trigonometry without being able to add and subtract. It's a prerequisite. And he mentioned when you go to college, there's prerequisites to getting into each course. And some people, well, I can handle it. And then when they can't handle it, it's someone else's fault. He does a thing, and then he was giving these courses out for free. Now he's starting to ask for money, or they're all the same thing, but this guy was a little more harsher. He's gonna tell you the honest truth why your life sucks so bad because you're screwing it up. And he goes through, everybody, no matter what's going wrong in the country, you can't use that as an excuse for why you're not able to get a better job. And that's the truth. Even during the worst of times, there are people with enough ambition that go out and they get the better job. Now, they're one percenters. I'm a one percenter. One percenters are driven. When I told you when that gear broke, that's still in my head. I'm going to suffer with that gear, even though I fixed it. It set up an office in my head. And I tried everything to get that gear just to put it in that radio to get to the next step. And that's what a one percenter does. They don't quit. They say they quit, but they're still thinking about it. And then there's a lot of people that are going to tell you, I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. I had a guy, I told you, in my neighborhood. He died and they threw it all out. And he had headphones. And he said to me, they got to be recharged. The magnets never. Well, I have the headphones. I opened them up and I figured out how to recharge them. See, he wouldn't do that. He's going to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is the magical. This one guy says tomorrow's the magical day. That's when everybody's going to start the diet. They're going to start exercising. I go for long walks, and right now I won't go out there. I think it's like 81 already to start with. It's going to 80 or 97 with super high humidity today. I go out to a walk, and I just can't walk around the block. I go for a long walk. I come back, and then my heart's doing the marimba because I have benign arrhythmia. So it takes an hour and a half before my heart starts beating normally again because I strained it. And I'm 72 years old, and when I go out walking, I feel great. All your aches and pains go away, believe it or not, because the circulation gets going. And you can overdo it. And then you come home and you're like, boy, did I overdo it. But that's a one percenter. We overdo everything. We overthink everything. We have anxiety problems and stuff like that. And that's what you probably pick up on that when I'm doing the video. Like this guy's got problems. Everybody has problems. But I put myself out there and I stay with something past what the normal person would. And I could have bought my way out with that gear for $120 or whatever and got the unit. Hopefully I was able to use that gear. Hopefully it didn't split like the one I had. Or when I got it, it's not already broken. I have to ask the guy to get the money back and send it back. I went the route of putting a splint on the gear, and I really could do that even better. After I did it and it worked, I said, I could have made that even better. But it is what it is. But I just wanted to tell you, I have to say it, the Hallicrafters SX42 is a really great radio if someone just hands it to you and you use it. But if you have to repair that thing, you're going to have a whole different attitude with it. That's why the guy says, why do you diss Hallicrafters? Because I'm the guy that I've been in them. They're junk inside. But the performance, they give you better circuitry, better tubes, but the other stuff in it is crap. The gears, some of the gears later on, they were steel instead of brass, whatever it is, because they had a problem with them jamming up. And I didn't know all this. See, after you have unlimited internet and you can keep reading, you start bumping into stuff where someone says, Yeah, there are radios out there that have brass gears, and after a while they get mushy and they jam up, and the companies switch to steel. And if you don't know that, you're buying on eBay, and you're buying a problem. And how do you fix that? How do you fix the fact that all the gears in the radio need to be changed to steel? That's why no more radios for me. I understand why I buy the radio. I understand why I bought these NC57s because I owned an NC125. I used it every night when I come home from work at RCA. It was during the winter months. I'd go up to my room and I had a 4-foot box loop antenna made. It was in one of the magazine articles. And I would tune in out of different out of states radio stations. And my dad bought me is a little handbook. It had all the stations in the United States listed for both AM, FM, and television. And I would go through each frequency and mark the station I got. I put a little mark next to it. And when I would look at a frequency and I knew it was that station, and I also would mark down a northeast, a little arrow telling me whether I had the box loop northeast, south, or west. Actually, you only have two directions with a box loop. You know, north and south, east and west. There are um, this directions in between that, but that's the basics. You put the little arrow in there, and you know you got that station with the box loop in that position. So the next night you turn the box loop and then try to get a different station in a different state. I think that's it. All right, that's it.